What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? Episode 2, Ties That Bind. So, what'd you think, bro? Pretty cool, huh? I think it's pretty fucking dope. But anyway, let's get right into the choices. Anyway, in case you, just to reiterate, episode 1, it was just only one major choice that we did differently. Not really much else to say about that, but, yep. Those are the percentages, and if you watch the 20-minute video that I sent you recently, I went into those deeper. But this is about episode 2, so let me go over each one of those individually. This might be a shorter video just because that it's not really much to say and much to talk about. So the first choice, how did you deal with David and Kate's argument? This was totally different, whereas myself and 39.2% of players stayed out of it. I was very neutral on it. I stayed out of it, and then things kind of cooled off, and it was cool between them to some point. But you did what the majority of players did. You and 60.8% of players decided to, well, you told him off pretty much, and you told him, and the way you told him off was that you told David that Kate wanted to leave him. So I think you're missing, you're not quite understanding dialogue when it's happening. You're saying you don't want to be a part of the drama, but yet by telling them off, you were a part of the drama. So it's it's hard for me to take you serious, man, because it's you say one thing on the stream and then you pick a totally different option. So it's okay, well, hang on a minute, if you're going with if your initial instinct is to say shut your ass up or tell them off or don't tell them what to do, and that is presented to as a choice, why aren't you picking it? Are you afraid to put yourself in the game? Are you afraid to assimilate yourself, so to speak, and act how you would act? Because don't act how you think Javi would act. Act how you would act. Do what you did with Lee and Clementine. Because, I don't know. Because it's you don't want to be part of the drama, but you told them off in the worst possible way. Yo, your wife wants to leave you for me. Or not, because that's what you said. Go back and rewind and watch the stream if you missed it, but that's what you said. So, I mean, I get why the majority of people did that, because he was being kind of abusive, but that's not really my place to say. So I stayed out of it. And I think my outcome has a bit more of a calmer resolution, because during my version it's Kate apologizes and then David's it's fine, it was an accident, and he walks off. So it was kind of cool like that. But I was a minority, you were a majority. And also, it doesn't show this, but you, Wallace, whereas you held, her hand on top of yours, I pulled away. Just because, I mean, I know it's only a big deal, but it's bro, I don't want, she's trying to... she's trying to make David jealous, or she actually wants to be with Javi, and that's just not right. She wants to have an affair with the brother. Break up with David first, get a divorce, and then we'll talk, okay? Because number one, that's my brother, and number two, I don't like sloppy seconds. Not my style. Plus, there's her goddamn sister-in-law, bro. You need to separate that. It's I know it's we're at that age where, oh, stepsister porn or whatever, stepmom porn or all that stuff, but and yeah, I've dabbled, trust me. But it's bro, it's God, this is gross. And Kate is ugly. I thought Carly was a lot more better looking, and Kate is just she's a 5 at best, strong 6 on a good day, But that's just me. But yeah, 39.2% of players stay out of it, which is what I did. So that was the first major choice in this episode. So that's number one. Second choice. You probably can guess what it was, but here it is anyway. How did you handle the new frontier at the gates of Prescott? You and I were the majority. We opened fire. 58.6% of players. So that was what a lot of people did. Hey, yes, you said bet. You just texted me bet on PlayStation. I bet. So, and bet to the fact that we opened fire on those motherfuckers. The other one was surrendered, and if you, as you can see, 0.8% of players tried to negotiate. About damn near nobody tried to negotiate. It was either open fire or surrender. I'll leave it up to you if you want to go back to figure out what happens if you surrender, but pretty much it's just a different play out, but they still end up ramming the fucking gate. There's no way to save Francine. You know, you don't care about her. I didn't care about her either, but there's no way to save her. She's one of those characters that dies no matter what you do. She's dead no matter what. Where certain characters are determinate, which means you influence their fate, or i.e. their status. Francine was dead from the moment this episode started, pretty much. There are certain characters that are dead from the onset of the start of the episode. And I know who they are, so I know who dies in these episodes, but I can't tell you that. But just know, I know when certain characters are gonna either die, or you, the player, i.e. the player, is gonna decide their fate. And let me go over real quick the statuses of characters in this game. There are 4 major ones. First off, alive, which means they're still living, they're active, or the last time we saw them they were alive. Second one was dead, which means those characters are dead, and they have no influence whatsoever. So example of that, Katja is one of them. Francine's one of them. Let me think here. Kenny's one of them in season 3. They die no matter what. Actually, I shouldn't say Kenny, because he's a determinant character, which means that you decide the fate. And Lee is determinant. Walker or dead. And the fourth one is unknown, or MIA, which is the last. We have no idea where they're at last time I saw them. So they may have, scattered, or they may have been gone. So a good example, Tavia and Wyatt from Carver's group. We didn't see them die, but the last time we saw any semblance of them, their community was attacked by walkers. We didn't see them get out, we didn't see them get killed, we didn't see anything else. So they're unknown, pretty much. Their status is unknown. So alive, unknown, dead, and determinate. Determinate ones are kind of hard to pinpoint, but after you play a certain amount of times, you understand who's determinate and who's marked for dead no matter what. Good example, episode 5, No Going Back of season 2. When you're on the ice, Luke was destined to die no matter what. Bonnie was a determinate character. She could have survived that. She could have died there. She died there for us. So that's an example of what I mean by determinate. How you influence their impact, pretty much. So, back to this choice. 58.6% of players dealt with the new frontier by pretty much saying, hey, fuck you, your fucking, system and protocols, or whatever you have to do to fucking get fucking orders and whatever. We're gonna open fire on you, and whoever dies, and whoever lives, lives. That's war. That's life. So that was that. And you and I had the same semblance. Open fire on those motherfuckers. And yeah, you're right. It was kind of like a short episode. It was kind of shorter, but it was a 2-parter. These 2 episodes, 1 and 2, were released at the same time, which means they were kind of played together. And then we had to wait for however long it was for episode 3, 4, and 5 to come out. But that was how you dealt with the new frontier. We had the same protocol. We opened fire. Let's move on to the third choice, which is, I wonder if you can guess what it is. I'll give you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did you trust Jesus? This is also where we deviated. Because you knew who it was before you even met him. And to be fair, I don't know if you... Well, I mean, you watched the show, so you kind of knew of him. And I read the comics, and I also watched the show. But you also got to remember, bro, this is not the same Jesus from the TV show. This is the Jesus from the comic book. Although there are similarities, there is a few differences. Trust me, there are a few differences. So you were in the minority and I was in the majority this time, so it's flip-flop this time. Whereas myself and 86.2% of players took him at his word, trusted him, you and 13.8% of players bound his wrists or tied them together because you didn't trust him at first. So I think maybe I'm starting to influence you a little bit because I'm telling you to not think about certain things and not do certain things a certain way, but now you're starting to question everything. But you knew this was Jesus the moment you laid eyes on him. But for some reason you didn't trust him. Whereas you knew that, at least in the TV show version, that Jesus was somewhat of a okay guy. I don't really particularly share his views on human life, but that's all hearsay at this point. But I can understand why you didn't trust him, because, you know, he did point a gun at you, but I kind of had a feeling that it was him, and even though we were acting like assholes, I was like, you know what? His words have conviction, and he seemed to give off, like, an honest vibe. So I was thinking to myself, you know what? If he's lying, I'll find out sooner or later, but other than that, I'll trust him, take him at his word. Not trust him, I took him at his word, pretty much. I know it says both, but I took him at his word, pretty much. And pretty much all that happens there is that it's just the, if you don't trust him, he gets out of the zip ties, and then he saves Gabe. And if you do trust him, that scene doesn't happen. He just, like, literally comes out of nowhere and does the wall kick. And I think it also influences his dialogue later on in I think it's at the train car or something. But not much else to say about that one, even though it was an opposite choice. And there is a vast margin, bro. A vast margin. But yeah. So 86.2% of players, i.e. myself, took him at his word. And 13.8% of players, and yourself, you're part of that category, didn't trust him right away. Maybe you still don't, who knows? But all I know is that you didn't trust him. So it was pretty much, okay, so if you want to do things that way, then you should just be on edge, or not on edge, you should be alert at all times, and you should always be on guard. So now the fourth choice. Let's move on, because pretty much, you trust him, you don't trust him. It's kind of like a personal preference. I took him at his word just because I thought he was Jesus from the comic book. And I was up on the comics, so I was like, I kind of knew that, okay, this guy, I don't care for him necessarily, but he's not a bad person. So I can kind of go along with what he says. I didn't think they were going to mess with the personality in the game. They didn't do it for Glenn, and they didn't do it for Herschel. So I figured that, yeah, Jesus is probably still the same person and mentality as he was in the comic book, because this is the comic book version of Jesus. Anyway, moving on. Alright, bro, so, oh yeah, we gotta accept the plan. We gotta accept the plan, Clementine. Psych! There you go. That's the fourth choice. How did you deal with Conrad's threat to Clementine? pretty much, bro, about damn near everybody. Well, I wouldn't say everybody, but a pretty slim, a very high margin of players killed Conrad. So for about 89.4% of players for right now, Conrad's dead. And the other 10.6% of players went along with the plan. Totally different outcome, bro. This is one of those paths where this choice right here is critical. And I mean critical and pivotal as fuck. Because right now this choice could have been, you could have had Conrad with you after this point. But at this point, you, myself, and 89.4% of players have Conrad dead. And that's it. And you know damn well that we were going to shoot the motherfucker, because not only did he threaten Clementine, he also took Gabe hostage. Now I know you say you don't care about him, but that's still Javi's nephew. And he's lost a niece already. So you best believe that he's not going to go down fighting without when his nephew gets put in the line, when his life gets put in the line. Coming to grips with the fact that his niece is gone, he has to protect. He has to be vicious. He has to attack. And he has to defend. I'm sorry, man. I'm just trying to fill time. Not a whole lot to say on this, because we acted the same way, pretty much. 89.4% of players killed him. Bye, Conrad. Go see your wife, wherever the fuck that is. But that's what happens. That's what happens. You get taken out, and not a whole lot to say about that. So let's move on to the fifth and final main choice of this episode, which I cannot understand, but tell me what you think about this. How far did you go to get into Richmond? Us and 4.1% of players didn't capitulate to Max's demands, which means didn't give in to his demands. Which means the other 95.9% of players did. Which means they not only lowered the weapons, they had Javi drop Kate to the ground, place their hands above their heads, and then all drop to their knees in like a pitiful way of surrendering. And I'm thinking to myself, what is wrong with you people? And I was thinking, bro, that you're gonna capitulate, you're gonna give in, but I was thinking to myself, no, you don't care about that family enough to do that. But then when you lower their guns, I was like, oh fuck, you're gonna do that. You're gonna go that route, man. You're gonna do what they want you to do. But when it came to hold on to Kate or give in to their demands or do what they ask or however it was, you pressed to hold on to Kate. And that's pretty cool, because that actually changes the dialogue of the first few minutes of episode 3, which I won't get into all that much right now, but you'll find out tomorrow, or yeah, you'll find out tomorrow. But yeah, so this was the first one that I went, well, I guess everyone wanted to. Maybe it's the fact that the game was trying to force you to go that route. But I guess 4% of us said fuck it. But yeah, bro, 4.1% of players, which is you and I, are in that category. We're part of the 4%. We didn't give in to Max's demands. It's kind of fucked up that his name is Max, because I had a cat that was named Max, and he died about 2 or 3 years ago. Or, yeah, about somewhere around there. It's been a while, but not really a while, but around there. But yeah, those are the 5 main choices. So, whereas in the opening episode we had 1 difference, this one we had 2 differences. Whereas I stayed out of the argument, you didn't. And where I took Jesus at his word, you didn't. And when it comes to that, I was in the minority, you were in the majority, and then I was in the majority and you were in the minority. And then majority, and then all minority. So very mixed, and it kind of balances each other out. Whatever choice we did opposite, we did multiple things differently, or the same, or we kind of followed the herd a little bit, so to speak. So that 4% and that 89% really doesn't mean much. But yeah, those are the main choices for episode 2. I'll go through them again one more time, just because you don't have a screen for it. How did you deal with David and Kate's argument? You and 60.8% of players told David that Kate wanted to leave him, i.e., told him off. So majority, you followed the trend. And then how did you handle the new frontier at the gates at Prescott? We and 58.66% of players opened fire. Did you trust Jesus? You and 13.8% of players bound his wrists and tied him up. And myself and 86.2% of players took him at his word. How did you deal with Conrad's threat to Clementine? Us and 89.4% of players killed Conrad. And finally, how far did you go to get into Richmond? Us and 4.1% of players did not capitulate to Max's demands. It's so crazy. 4.1%. It's messed up, man. But anyway, alright, that's about 20 minutes, I think. Yeah, not a whole lot. I don't want to bore you to death, so I'll give you a Dragon Ball Z outro. There you go. Alright, man. That does it for episode 2. I will see you for episode 3 tomorrow, after I get done with work, of course. Peace!